Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from chillier and chillier Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, it is a mess in America. People are touching people when they don't want to be touched.
Without consent.
If it only stopped at touching, let's just...
Well, yeah. I mean, and people are harassing people. Here's the thing. We're going to just discuss this moment in history in terms of, touching people and power.
Yeah, and for me, that's an interesting question to be looking at, is how people are abusing their power.
Yeah.
And for sort of in sexual ways. But anyway,
it's okay if they agree with me politically for them to touch somebody against their will. It's just not okay if they disagree with me politically, right? Isn't that how...
What's interesting is that has been how it worked in the past.
Yeah.
And we're kind of at this watershed moment where it feels like it's changed, at least on the left, a little bit.
Well, we'll see.
But we'll see how that
We'll get to that eventually.
All right, Dan.
Yes, sir.
I've got some news from the UK.
Oh,
we've been struggling in this country. We've had sort of this horrible years. It's been years now that this has been going on. This war on Christmas, a bloody, horrible mess.
All the casualties of the war on Christmas.
Really,
all the dead bell ringers outside of the
indeed
shopping centers.
Well, the UK, or at least the National Trust in the UK, which is a charity that takes care of a bunch of historic, properties.
Sure.
And beautiful places, I guess. They have a war on Santa Claus.
What?
Santa Claus is being kicked out of the National Trust.
Oh,
because he's too American. They're fine with Father Christmas.
Yes.
They are not okay with good old Saint Nick.
That's really funny.
Or Santa Claus, I guess.
How does he come into it? Like, either of them. Like, of what are they a part?
So I guess...
did they have like a Santa Claus? Did they have like a Christmas celebration that they sponsored or something?
There's all these old estates and homes and whatnot, castles, forts, etc.
Your various and sundry.
And if I guess there must be like a visit that must happen at some of these sites, because there was an official email that went out that said, "Can you change Santa to Father Christmas? I know you've used Father Christmas later on, but National Trust guidance is never to use Santa."
Oh.
And of course now I guess the UK media went nuts. They called it a Santa ban, and the National Trust wants to make sure that people understand that this is not a Santa ban, that they really are only taking umbrage with Santa, Saint Nick, and Santa Claus.
Okay. Because Father Christmas
is the proper British way.
I mean, what the hell's the difference?
Character.
He wears a dress instead of...
Well, Father Christmas is much more lean.
Oh, yes.
He's not so rotund. He's a much healthier figure.
Definitely, his belly doesn't shake when he laughs like a bowl full of jelly.
Here's what's really important.
Okay.
The Telegraph spoke with etiquette expert William Hansen, whoever that is. Who said that it is lower class to call him Santa.
Oh. Oh, my.
Hansen added, "If you're British or have Anglo-Saxon aspirations," whatever that is.
Oh, my God.
Then it's Father Christmas and never Santa or Santa Claus. He said that he's been buoyed by the fact that the trust is, quote, speaking out and correcting this irritating and increasing Americanization of Christmas.
I get it. It's us. We're the problem.
We're the problem. And we're lower class.
We low-class Americans are ruining Christmas for all the good upper-class British people.
And this article was kind enough to also point out that while Santa is an Americanization, it's really, we ripped it off from the Dutch, who have Sinterklaas.
Right.
It's all this, we all rip each other off. I don't know, why is this such a big fucking deal?
Well, what's really,
Santa Claus is way more fun than Father Christmas.
Right. What nobody in the world really wants to admit about America, because America gets this reputation for taking everything that's good in the world and kind of ruining it and cheapening it or whatever. You know, we take French cuisine and we do something crappy to it, and then it's not. Right. It loses all of its subtlety and it loses all of its nuance and blah blah blah.
And what made it really wonderful?
What nobody admits, but they secretly all know, is that it's just better. It just tastes better. It's just more fun. You're right.
Better is very subjective.
No, yeah. I will say this, but a lot of American things are not better.
Right.
American cheese is not better.
No, but we have a new cheese movement in this country.
Oh, yeah.
And our new cheese makers are making wonderful cheeses.
Amazing cheeses.
Yeah.
The whole American thing is...
This is not about better and worse.
Right.
That is not what this is about. This is about the fact that we do have an ability with our pop culture to, take a thing that's stodgy,
right,
and make it accessible and fun.
We're going to dust that off.
Yeah.
We're going to spruce it up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit ridiculous.
Oh.
And you're going to have way more fun.
It's going to be ugly. It's going to be tacky.
Tacky, yeah.
Gauche, perhaps.
And enjoy, because you're welcome. Oh, good Lord.
Oh, yeah. No, isn't that amazing?
America the Beautiful. Hey, speaking of America, Little Rock, Arkansas, I've got an update on multiple stories, actually. Because
really?
You won't remember the name Michael Tate Reed, but that's a fella who likes to get in cars and knock down Ten Commandments monuments.
Oh, God.
He did it in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Then a few years later, he did it in Arkansas.
Yeah, okay. He's a serial Ten Commandment knocker downer.
He is at that.
Okay.
And so he's been on trial. He went to trial, and now he has been ruled unfit to proceed. Based on a diagnosis by a state doctor.
There's something wrong with him?
Amazing, right? Shocking. That a man who Facebook lived his last one, the one in Arkansas.
Did he? I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
There's video of him.
Up.
He's in his car. He gets it. You can't see what it's aimed at because he's got his lights turned off. He turns on his lights. He hits the gas and he yells, "Freedom!" as he plows into the Ten Commandments. Now, that's just silly talk.
Yeah.
He's just being silly at that point.
Yeah. I mean, goodness gracious.
But what he's actually probably being is some sort of schizophrenic.
Oh, okay.
Some sort of schizoaffective disorder. So he will not be going to jail, but he will also not be getting out of the hospital anytime soon. He is now legally remanded to a hospital.
Has he in some other way demonstrated that he's a risk to this is not the sole thing that came up in this hearing. Do they mention the other ways that he is a risk to himself or to others?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I'm just curious.
I don't know enough about schizoaffective disorder or anything, but no, all that has come up
instead of going to jail for his crime, he's going to go get some help.
Indeed, he clearly isn't all the way okay, and so they're gonna help him out with that.
He's only shown true animus
to pieces of rock.
Yeah, exactly.
With writing on them.
Yeah.
And also, I will remind our listeners that this was not, thank God, an atheist who was doing this. This was, theoretically, he was Christian, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I remember that in the original.
Well, I would have had no problem if he was actually an atheist. I mean, not because I want to feel some sort of kinship with him, but just because, you know, atheists are people too, and atheists can be schizophrenic too, and
that's right.
You know, like
yeah, but it's just nice.
Who cares what he believes?
But you know, whenever anything happens, you know, the recent church shooting or whatever, if they can say he's an atheist, then they can say, see, all atheists are crazy or are blank.
Right.
And how, you know, godlessness has led them to be destructive.
Led them to their schizophrenia.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Clearly, it's an adult mind that...
You let go of God and you go nutso. That's just a fact. I think we can all agree. That's just something that obviously happens.
Yeah. Well, I've got a story of the Chinese government trying to force some people to let go of God. They let's see, it's in the Jiangxi province, which
nailed
is
it. I think you got
absolutely nailed it. Are you kidding me? That was beautiful. It's I guess a very poor region of China, but it's also a very Christian region of China.
Okay.
And
there are a few of those.
So the Communist Party is entering the area, and I guess they have a goal of sort of ending poverty in China by 2020.
Oh.
That's a lofty goal and a very short timeline.
It's a great goal
to do that with.
If they do it, I will. Maybe they can teach us something.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're doing it with a lot of. They're calling them rations and whatnot. Like, this is a lot of government,
sort of communist
government
things.
Handouts.
Yeah.
You know, government just. But nonetheless, they're trying to better the situations that people are living in, improve the situation, make sure that they have food, make sure that their shelter is adequate,
and take away their God.
And so they went around, and in a not so subtle quid pro quo, they basically ordered these, you know, poor people in this region, poor Christians, to take down their Christian shit and instead put up a picture of Xi Jinping.
Oh, good.
This is reminiscent, of course, you know, to the Mao, Chairman Mao. Was pictures of Chairman Mao were hung up all over China during the Cultural Revolution or whatever. I don't know my Chinese history very well.
All over everything.
But sort of that cult of personality that sometimes exists around these leaders. That doesn't really exist around him elsewhere, but in trying to transform this...
it's not a good look. It's not a good sign.
Well, and here's the deal. There are lines that these people are saying, right? Okay. That really rub me the wrong way, even though I 100% agree with them. Such as, many rural. This is somebody from the party.
Okay.
Many rural people are ignorant. They think God is their savior. After our cadres work, they'll realize their mistakes and think we should no longer rely on Jesus, but on the party for help.
Oh God. Yeah, that's a bad look. I want Jesus out of the way as much as anybody does, but not.
That's just bad PR.
Don't just replace it. Don't be like no. Jesus doesn't save you.
The party saves.
We save you.
Right.
No, that's a very bad sign.
I think there's a different phrasing here. You know, of like, listen, like we're here to take care of your temporal needs. Jesus is only a spiritual thing, right? If they want to go that far, right? Like the best that you can get from Jesus is some kind of spiritual help. We are here to help your life. In the physical world, we are going to give you food. We're going to do this. But then they set up this weird, like, okay, take it down and we'll give you your food.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's kind of rough.
All right. Well, so that's good luck to them. They'll learn some things about human nature.
Atheist update from China. Just a fun fact. Some estimates put the Christian population of China somewhere around 90 million, or actually over 90 million.
Really?
Which the Communist Party only has 90 million members. And so the Communist Party is not happy.
Wow, 90 million. That's shocking to me. I mean,
there's like 1.5 billion people.
Drop in a bucket of 1.5 billion, but still, that's a very high number for a country that has never been a traditionally Christian zone.
No.
Well, there you go. Hey, I'm going to take us to a different place, Australia. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah.
Aussies?
Yeah, from time to time.
You may have heard that they just announced the results of their mail-in vote thing.
It was a poll.
It was a poll.
Yeah, a non-binding referendum.
About gay marriage.
Yeah.
Non-binding, but it promises to be the defining what the government will go with.
Right. Nothing changed because of that poll.
Except that now the government has a mandate.
Exactly. There you go.
So there we go. And it came back very much pro same-sex marriage.
Good on the Aussies.
So hooray for that.
Yeah.
Not great for Nick and Sarah Jensen.
Who are they?
A Canberra couple who were very, very adamantly opposed to allowing gay people to marry each other.
Oh, no. No.
To the point where they took a stand a couple years ago. As a matter of conscience, they said, Mr. Jensen said, "My wife and I just celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary, but later this year we may be getting a divorce.
What?
My wife and I, as a matter of conscience, refuse to recognize the government's the government's regulation of marriage if its definition includes the solemnization of same-sex couples." So they promised. So that was their big.
So this is gay marriage actually ruining a straight marriage,
right?
For the first time ever.
I think that's what they were trying to pull off. Did they think that the rest of the country would be like, well, shit, now we can't do it. These guys will ruin their marriage.
Let's keep the Jensens together.
We gotta help the Jensens. Well, someone has stepped up to help the Jensens.
Oh no,
Michael Ticey, from a Sydney family law firm, Ticey and Lawyers.
Oh boy,
has said that he will pro bono help them with their divorce. now that things have now that the writing's on the wall, he's stepped up to say, and don't kid yourself. It's actually not that easy to get a divorce in Australia.
Oh, really?
Theoretically, I guess you have to live like a year apart from each other, which they had no intention of doing.
All right.
And because, I mean, he said they would continue to live together and hope, Ms. Jensen said that they'd continue to live together, they'd refer to each other as husband and wife and stuff, which would never fly in the Australian courts.
Really?
They need a lawyer for this.
Right.
So that's, it's very lovely of Mr. Ticey. I have no idea how to pronounce this name, by the way. I could be butchering it. It's Tiye. That's just too many vowels.
Ticey.
Anyway, yeah, he has stepped forward. He says, quote, "My firm does quite a bit of pro bono work in family law each year in the gay, lesbian, and trans community. I thought offering assistance to Nick and Sarah would be an excellent way of reaching out across communities with my family law expertise, because quite simply, they are going to need it."
I love it. That's hysterical.
Snarky, snark.
Oh, what a dick.
Yeah, well, go.
Well done.
Go get your divorce, kids. You need it. You promised. You said you would.
Yeah.
Jerks.
Yeah, just, if you say it, then you need to just follow through.
Yeah.
That's the lesson here.
That's the lesson.
Yeah. Just keep your word. Are you honest?
Do you have convictions or not?
Yeah.
Let's see it.
Yeah. All right.
And congratulations to Australia for finally coming into the 20th century. 21st.
It's kind of a 21st century thing, Dan.
I guess so. It feels like it should
started
in the 20th century. All right, fine.
But
for finally doing the gay marriage thing. That's
there you go. Yeah.
Needed to be done.
So, Dan.
Oh, yes.
You've heard about this Bible museum thing, right? In Washington, D.C.
We've talked about that.
It's been quite the
Hobby Lobby.
The Hobby Lobby, the Green family, right?
Yeah.
Steve Green, who's the president of Hobby Lobby. They have bankrolled this whole thing,
right?
Basically, they felt the need for there to be, some proper representation of Christian history and values in Washington, D.C.
And those values include smuggling millions of dollars worth of contraband into the country.
Right. Well, there's some new questions that are coming up around some of the artifacts in the museum.
Again?
Not just the ones that already came up. Now there's serious questions around the whether or not the Dead Sea Scrolls artifacts that they have are real or
are
fake.
Authentic. Oh no! I love it.
Because quite frankly, they were just going around with so much money, throwing millions of dollars around.
Yeah.
Basically every antiquity dealer in the world, but in particular like the Middle East.
Oh yeah.
They knew that these folks were around and spending the money.
Yeah.
And so it's probably not just the Dead Sea Scroll artifacts or whatever that are being drawn that are questionable.
Oh no.
There are probably other artifacts as well. However, this is the stuff that is sort of most easily looked at. Also because, well, when the Dead Sea Scrolls were first discovered back in, what was it, the mid 1900s, right? There were just so many that were found. I mean, it was a ridiculous amount of artifacts.
Huh.
But the Israeli government has held on to them very tightly.
Okay.
They have sort of an antiquities protection thing.
Sure.
And things, all of this kind of stuff is supposed to stay in Israel.
Right.
And so it's 900 manuscripts that were found with an estimated 50,000 fragments. And it's taken basically the last 6 decades for scholars to not only excavate but also publish them all and to, really start looking into them. Well, they had the Greens had hired this guy, I forget his name at this point, to go through these artifacts and study them, validate them, and they wanted them all to be published in scholarly journals.
Sure.
And as the guy's going through and he's doing these multispectral analyses and whatnot,
sure,
and just looking at them underneath a microscope, he's like, well, I think the leather, right, or the material that they're written on, whatever it is that they're written on, that looks real. That's old.
It's ancient, right? And whatever.
But the way the ink is bleeding through suggests that it was applied to an already durable surface, right?
Oh.
Meaning that it didn't soak in when the paper, leather, whatever, again, was fresh and new. It was already cracked and weathered and dried out.
Uh-oh.
And so the ink is just kind of, right?
Right.
There was also this interesting thing, and I looked at the picture and I just couldn't see what they were talking about. But they're saying that there's this an annotation in one of them that is from a 1937 edition of the Hebrew Bible. That
that made it in. Oopsie-doo.
So that was really the truly damning thing.
So yes, it does look like maybe under a microscope you can see that the ink isn't properly, but also there's the part that's from 1930. That might be a little bit more. That might be a bit more of a problem.
That's
really.
a real problem. So at this point, they have completely
also the smiley faces were weird. The
emojis.
The emojis don't seem to line up with the time period.
Jesus said, "Love everyone," and there's a heart eyes.
Jesus said, "Love everyone." Hashtag love. Hashtag Jesus.
Hashtag everyone.
Hashtag everyone.
But nonetheless, they've basically at this point disproved the authenticity of like 9 of the 13 fragments. And so it's a bit of a problem for the Greens at this point. It's probably millions of dollars spent on forgeries.
I find antiquities interesting, and if I'm in DC and it's open, I'm probably going to go to the Bible Museum.
But don't you want to see real antiquities, not fake ones?
Yeah. And the other thing is that, like, if his motivations were just let's talk about the Bible as a thing of history, that's one thing,
right?
But he's all about proselytizing, and we know how big a dick he is in other realms of the earth,
right?
I have no problem taking a bunch of Schadenfreude with this one. I have no problem. Relishing how
that's some pretty harmless Schadenfreude.
Yeah,
Dan.
Yeah.
I guess scholars and basically everybody around the Greens at this point were screaming, trying to get through to them.
Stop doing this. Slow down.
Stop throwing the money around.
Right.
Stop doing it so quickly. These kind of collections have to be built over time,
right?
Slowly, deliberately, Be known as a collector, but be known as a smart collector,
right?
Not just the collector who will buy any fucking thing they see.
Don't just paint the word sucker on your forehead and get out into the world.
Like, how naive do you have to be? I mean, I guess
he wanted his museum right now.
I mean, I guess I have been in a Hobby Lobby, so that answer is a question to.
Yeah, don't shop at Hobby Lobby. That's one of the things. All right, I'm going to take us to Knoxville, Tennessee, where I'm really trying to avoid too much Schadenfreude here.
Oh,
there was at the First United Methodist Church in Tellico Plains, Tennessee. Members of the thing were cleaning up after a nice luncheon that was meant to celebrate Thanksgiving a week beforehand, so everybody could do their thing.
Lovely. Okay. Sounds nice.
And of course, the topic that's on everybody's mind right now is guns in churches. That topic came up. At which point, one of the members of the congregation said, "I never go anywhere without my gun," and took his out. Showed everybody. He apparently took out the magazine and cleared the chamber so that he could show it around to people. This is a man in his 80s, an octogenarian.
Oh,
okay. But yes, he takes his handgun everywhere, showed everybody, then reinserted the magazine and chambered around.
Oh boy!
And put it back in his holster.
Oh boy!
And then someone else walked up and said, "Hey, can I see it?"
Oh no!
At which point he pulled it out, believing that it, I guess,
having forgot that he,
didn't kind of space
muscle memory, really
spaced that he had chambered around, and managed in showing off that it was unloaded, shot through his own hand and his wife's abdomen.
Oh God!
So I mean, I guess the moral of this story is only a good guy with a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun. But who can stop a good guy with a gun? That's the question.
Oh, God.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, just there you go.
I guess...
you're more likely to get shot with your own gun, right?
You are.
The thing?
Yeah. You are way more likely to shoot for you or a member of your family to be shot with a gun than an intruder in your home or some
shot with a gun that you own.
Yeah. If you own a gun, that's what's more likely to happen.
Right.
There you go. I don't know. I just, guns in churches has always seemed like a very poor idea indeed to me.
I think just because this wasn't isolated to just a church setting, to be honest.
No.
It's timing perhaps could have been better.
Yes.
But I mean, this could have been anybody in any setting where, for whatever fucked up reasons our society lets them take a gun into.
Right.
And have him be like, oh, no, pop, 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 here you go.
Yeah.
Like this, it's the nature of having guns be everywhere and having people just feeling like they should...
Accidental shootings are the inevitable result of proliferation of guns.
Absolutely.
So there you go. Guns in churches.
Is anybody surprised?
And this is not the first time we've reported on an accidental shooting in a church. It's just a thing that happens now. I guess we're just going to have to accept that guns go off in churches now, even when there's not an assailant.
Well, yep. All right.
So, all right. Well, yeah. If you have anything you'd like to say about any of what we've talked about so far, you can write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
It is. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on the like button.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge. Request to join. It's a closed group, but there's always a good discussion going on, and you want to see what it is. So get on in there.
It's a community, is what it is. Yeah.
Dan.
Yes, sir.
Boy, these religious types, they just keep saying things.
Well, they do like to say things.
And I guess that means we keep playing things.
Yeah.
That they say.
Well, we'd probably stop if they stopped saying crazy things.
That's probably true. If they just reined in the crazy.
If they just said sort of, just religious things, it would be...
If they stop being so conspiracy-minded, I think that's the problem I have.
Crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, Rick Wiles.
True News host Rick Wiles.
Yeah.
Spelled TRU because they can't afford the E.
They can afford a proper set, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Woo, look at that thing.
They got a damn studio.
Yeah, it's lovely. Anywho, he's got things to say about what's going on in America right now.
Yeah.
There's a hatred of Christianity, a hatred of the cross, a hatred of this book. The homosexuals, the leftists, the socialists, the communists, the deep state in Washington, they hate this book. They're going to team up with the Muslims. You're going to have an alliance of God haters that are coming together to form a new Nazism in America. And let me tell you, here's where it's going to be different. Right now, we as Christians, what we are experiencing is what the Jews experienced in the 30s and the early 40s in Nazi Germany. They could see it. They could feel it. Something's different. Something's wrong. The Jews knew there's something's not right.
Right.
The atmosphere of the country has changed. They started throwing the rocks at the windows, breaking the windows of the Jewish stores and businesses. They started pushing the Jews into ghettos. They started ostracizing them.
Slowly taking away their rights.
Taking away their rights, pushing them into ghettos. All right? The last stage was to push them into the concentration camps and then into the gas chambers. That spirit of Nazism slaughtered millions of Jews. That spirit is here in America. Let me tell you something. It's going to be different this time. The Christians are going to be rounded up. The Christians are going to be ostracized. The Christians are going to be pushed into a digital ghetto. Think about that. You're going to be pushed into a digital ghetto, a slum. You Christians, you're not allowed over here with the rest of us. You stay over here. You cannot participate in society. And day by day, year by year, they're going to take away the rights of the Christians. The ultimate desire of these people in America right now that are in high places of power in this country, the ultimate desire is to kill you. Listen to what I'm saying. They're coming for you. They plan to destroy you. They plan to destroy the church. They hate Jesus Christ. They hate you. They hate your children. And they're coming for you.
They're onto us, Frank. They figured out our plans.
Oh, well.
We're coming to kill the Christians, just like the Nazis did to the Jews.
Oh, yeah. Or maybe just a ghetto.
Just a digital one. We can't really afford to give up all of the real estate that it would take to make an actual, like, physical ghetto.
Ghetto.
We just have to create digital ones. Does that mean that we digitize all the Christians to
maybe that's how we kill them.
to get them into the ghetto?
First we digitize them.
We put them in a digital ghetto for a while, and then we just click delete.
That's awful, Dan.
I mean, it's basically the same thing. You look at Germany in the 30s, where there were...
just the same.
I think it was significantly less than 1% of the population was Jewish.
I don't know the facts.
And you compare that to the United States of America, where the same less than 1% are Christians, because it's definitely going to happen. And how are the Christians going to protect themselves when they're only the 75 to 80% of the country?
I don't know.
How could they can't protect themselves?
It's going to be really hard
from the marauding masses of us bloodthirsty atheists who are just hanging out in our homes drinking wine.
He went from 0 to 60 pretty fast.
He did.
Because
he got there quick.
He's just going along talking about like digital ghettos. And I'm distracted by that for a minute. I was like, oh yeah, we could put them in their own Facebook. That sounds right. Put them on their own Twitter.
Christ book. You can have Christ book.
Yeah, exactly.
We get the good one.
Which, to be honest, they like to do to themselves.
Yeah.
All the time.
Oh yeah, they digitally segregate themselves completely.
Yeah, they've got their own entertainment. They've got their own...
They don't read our news. They don't read the real news.
Nobody's doing that to them. But I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about that. And then all of a sudden, it's like the people who are in charge want to kill you.
Right. They're coming to kill you.
And it's like, whoa. Wait, how did you... Wait. All you did was just say that.
And can I just say that...
Where is this coming?
That this dark state that the right is... That these... Christian right people are so worried about. Yeah. It's got to be really dark.
Oh yeah,
because it's invisible. It's so dark. All of these non-believing senators and people of power, all of these non-Christian powerful people.
Yeah,
that's a very dark group of people because I've never seen them.
I know.
I don't know where they are, and I'm in the movement.
Until it's too late, Dan.
Until it's too late.
Until it's too late. That's what prophets are for, Dan. Is to tell us about the things we can't see.
Right. Before they happen.
He sees it, Dan.
Oh, my God. We're in trouble.
His conspiratorial little mind.
Frank, we're in trouble.
Sees it.
What are we going to do? All right.
Well, at least we're not Christians.
Yeah, we're on the good...
We're going to be fine, Dan.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's our revolution. When we digitally confine all of these people, what will they do?
Oh, a fate worse than death. I've been sequestered to this weird part of the internet.
Right, exactly. Meanwhile, you and I are going to be on the dark web because the dark state. I don't know. I'm going to read some emails now is what I think I'm going to do.
Read them, Dan.
Hi, Frank and Dan. I've been listening to through the backlog of TGIA episodes since I discovered your show a couple months ago. And I've come across episode 210. You remember that one, right, Frank?
Oh, yeah, that's the one where...
you don't recount the whole thing. Well, we both remember everything about that episode, in which Dan said that trans people would probably never choose that life for themselves if they were given the option. Okay, we'll get to what I meant, or what I didn't actually go back and find this, but
okay.
Here's what our listener says. I wanted to comment on this, speaking as a trans woman myself. I can't speak for all trans people, of course. Well, why not? Come on, get on that. Since our experiences all vary. For myself, right. I can say that if I had a button I could press to instantly become a cisgender woman, I would press it in a heartbeat. Many trans women are totally comfortable with their bodies, voices, etc. You are lucky ladies. But that's just not my experience. Even so, though, I would much rather be a trans woman than a cis man. This doesn't come out of any misandry or anything like that. After all, I spent 23 years of my life thinking I was a cisgender male. What it comes down to for me is that I know for a fact that my brain is female. Obviously, I wish that my body matched up to what my brain expects it to be, but femininity is just a fundamental part of who I am. Mm-hmm. I can't warm to the idea of being a man any more than either of you could be comfortable with living the rest of your lives as a woman. I imagine it's pretty similar to how gay people feel. It would be nice if society wasn't such a dick to us, but no one wants to delete that part, the part of their identity.
Right.
The problem is less with my personal identity and more with how society judges me for being who I am.
Right.
That's from Sarah.
Did you say that, Dan?
I don't know what I said,
okay,
but I can tell you what I probably meant.
Okay.
And maybe I worded it very badly.
Right.
Which is just that considering how society treats people.
Right.
I don't think anybody would choose to be in the position of being a trans person in this society.
Okay.
And so, maybe that wording is better. Like, of course, that doesn't mean that someone should deny their identity. I think what I was probably getting at.
Right.
It's just that it's hard.
It's hard.
And what I'm saying, and what I was probably getting at.
If you had your druthers, would you want all the weird family tensions or rejections that come from,
and societies
and losing of friends and society treating people differently and whatnot and whatnot? I'm surprised that I didn't, and I feel bad that I didn't call you out, because that I feel like would have hit a note with me about something similar that people say about, I never would have chosen to be gay. And it's like, because you'll hear a gay man say that, and it's like, well, hello, self-loathing. Because I guess I get the gist of I wouldn't choose this. I wouldn't nobody's going to put themselves in a situation where they're going to be treated poorly or differently
or in danger
put
into serious danger.
Nobody's going to choose that aspect. Right. But
you may
I have anything about myself that I want to change because of my sexuality? No.
Right.
Because I like me and I like who I am.
Right.
Right. And so there's no I don't want to change that. I wouldn't want to not be gay.
And I
like being gay.
And I certainly would never have meant to have implied that was the case.
Right.
I think one of the things we may have been talking about is that people who are opposed to gay people who are trying to take away the rights of gay people or trans people or any of these people will sometimes say, well, they're just choosing it.
Right.
And I would say to them, you don't choose to walk into that firestorm.
Right.
You don't choose to walk into a segment of society that gets treated as badly as gay people or trans people can be treated.
Right. I just don't know why anybody would choose to be a boring cisgender male, to be honest.
It's really lame. I
don't know why you've done this, Dan.
I know. I really need to choose I need to make better choices in my life. I really do.
I mean, I used to have a similar thought, which was, why would I want to be a boring straight person?
Yeah.
That sounds awful. And I was always such a fabulous gay man.
Well, now...
That,
I mean, do we want to go there? Because you're not...
Fabulous.
You're not exactly sporting feathers. I'm just saying.
No.
I'm just saying there are fabulouser men.
Right. But then there's exactly. There's so many ways to be gay.
There's so many ways to be gay.
And they're all fabulous.
And that's a coffee table book for you.
So many ways to be gay.
Anyway, let's move on. Lee also wrote into us. Okay. I'll just read this one. So I live in a unique city of Alabama that is highly educated, racially diverse, and majority non-religious, about 52% by last data.
Really?
Yet, this city of mine has more church seats than people and growing. I believe this alludes to the mere fact that atheism, or even lack of religiosity broadly, is isolation. One of the staples and bright spots of being non-religious is the fact that your Sundays, or whatever days, are free.
Right.
But there is a lack of a sense of community, which provides a few things. Firstly, it makes it harder to come out and speak out. As a brown, queer, atheist female myself, I can say, for me, coming out as atheist was definitely the hardest of the two. I assume that means between coming out as queer and coming out as atheist.
Right.
And the trick with coming out is that you don't just do it once. You do it over and over again. And while my city has a certain hard-to-find comfort, the rest of the cities I have lived in and resided in around here simply do not. Oh, it has a certain hard-to-find comfort. The rest of the cities I have lived and resided in around here simply do not. So I just wanted to say thank you for helping to provide some of that community.
Oh.
That's from Lee.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's one of those things about coming out. Like, you think that it's an event.
Right.
It's not. It's just a lifelong thing that you choose to do or not do with every person that you meet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It is.
I mean, it gets
a process.
to a point where
it gets to the point where
easy.
Yeah. And you know, the more people you tell, the more out you are, the easier it is.
Right.
But yeah, it is a process. It is not an event.
Right.
And it keeps happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sorry. It's rough when you're in an area where you can't feel like there's community. Although when you and I were in Alabama, Frank, we met with a group of a ragtag group of atheists who have a meetup group. So
yeah,
you know,
what was it, like Free Thought Alabama or something like that? Free
yeah.
Thought Montgomery. I think is what it was.
Yeah. So,
or Free Thinkers of Montgomery. I had their T-shirt for the longest time.
Yeah, I've still got it somewhere.
Wore it everywhere.
Yeah. So, so you know, hopefully, Lee, you can maybe do a little more snooping around, and maybe you can find some people, start a group.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, when everybody else is in church, go get you some coffee or something.
Yeah.
And then Ambria wrote in to say, hey, guys, I was listening to your show this week and was surprised when you brought up the little town of Jefferson City, Tennessee. You'll remember last week you talked about a woman becoming pastor of, or did I talk about that?
I talked about it. I think the correct term is lady pastor.
A lady pastor. Oh, a lady pastor of a Baptist church.
Yeah. Yep.
Of course, small is an understatement, and most of the area surrounding it is similar. I actually grew up in that area and was working for the local newspaper when she was selected as the new pastor of First Baptist, a church that is championed by the resident Baptist college. Carson Newman, I guess, is the name of the college.
Oh, okay.
Being raised a Baptist, it shocked me as much as hearing about it on your show. I've since moved, so it was cool to hear about my home all the way from Utah. I must say, I thought it was awesome when she was selected, and I hope the church stays strong against the backlash. Baby steps in the right direction can lead to big changes.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that are rooting for her success, even including women in the ministry and other denominations.
Yeah, fantastic.
Indeed. Although, again, you know, we're rooting for big changes in backwards churches.
Yeah, it's because we root for society and progress in general.
We do.
Right? Wherever it is, wherever it's progressing, I root for it.
Yep.
Right? And the bigger question of, would I like for the Southern Baptist Church and for Baptist churches in general and Christian churches in general just to go away? Yeah, sure.
That'd be nice.
That'd be wonderful. But that's not happening anytime soon. So let's at least lend some vocal support to.
Let's cheer
a lady pastor.
Let's cheer every time somebody anywhere in the world is a little less of an asshole.
Right. And anytime that it kind of subverts their status quo.
Yeah.
That's
nice
what I'm
too.
really rooting for.
Yeah.
Is that it's pissing off so many other Southern Baptists.
All right. Hey, we've got some folks to thank.
We do indeed.
Largely, interestingly, they went the PayPal route instead of the Patreon route,
which is good as well.
Which is fine also. So we have Ashley did a one-time donation. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley.
And then Jeffrey did a one-time donation. but also became a subscriber, a monthly subscriber, which puts him at the venerable
we
level.
decided it was the venerable level.
So thank you so much, Jeffrey. And of course, we open it up to any way of donating is a good way of donating. In our world.
Well, the support is helpful. Let me tell you, like, we keep this show going because of the support.
Because of your support. And, you know, one of the things that we are about 70% of the way to our first big real Patreon goal.
Right.
Well, the first one was to do the video. We've got video going.
Which we do and we don't. It is in theory theoretically it's up and running, but we keep having snags and snafus.
It's in beta.
Well, we are totally in beta. It might even be more like what's the next one? Gamma.
I don't know. It's down the list a little bit.
Delta.
But it's happening. It's happening, and the kinks will get worked out.
Yeah.
But the next big Patreon goal is for us to get out on our dime and have live shows and meetups elsewhere in the world. And we want to come to you and meet more of you and get out there. But we can't do that yet, so we're 70% of the way there. So if you want to be helpful and help us meet that goal and get out there, we would love for you to do so. All you have to do is go to thankgodimatheist.com and click on the Patreon button. And that will
ultimately the support tab.
The support tab.
Because then they can go PayPal or they can go Patreon.
Right.
But you're correct. For the goal,
the goal is a Patreon goal
on Patreon.
So we're 70% there. You can be a part of it. You literally contribute at whatever level you're comfortable with. Most folks, not everyone can afford this, and that's fine. If you want to help out and you can't afford, go and give us a 5-star review somewhere, and that's great. But if you also want to be helpful, you can go to Patreon. You know, whatever level you're willing to give. If it's $1 an episode, that's delightful. If it's $10, that's amazing. So wherever you land on this, you'll just be helping us get the word out, and get out to you.
Yes,
so
indeed,
we're really excited about that. And also,
well, we always have to thank
our
Lord and Savior.
Our current highest donor is always the highest donor of every week is always our Lord and Savior, and it is still and remains Angela. So we bless you all in Angela's holy name. Amen.
Amen. So, Dan.
Yes, sir.
We're going to be talking about something that's plaguing our nation. And has been plaguing our nation, but we're only really figuring it out.
Here's the thing. I had a friend on Facebook, a woman, a feminist, write about sort of the sepia-toned halcyon days of yore, back when there were accusations of sexual harassment or whatever against your Bill Clintons, your Clarence Thomases,
right?
But it just felt like it was just these were anomalies or whatever,
right?
And she was mourning how tough it feels right now because so many men are being so very credibly accused of fairly horrific things, really gross behavior,
right?
And sometimes much worse than gross. In the case of like child molestation,
there's been child rape. There's been all sorts of sexual predation on whatever level,
from A to Z,
right. And it's all getting reported.
She was mourning this, and my response to her was, "No, these are the good days,
right?"
Because this was happening all the time.
Yeah.
This entire time, the sepia that she was seeing in the past was the filter that those in power were using to not let us see their predation,
right?
To not let us hear their victims,
right?
And it hurts because there are people that I know I'm very fond of,
right? That
I have to see in a different light now,
yeah.
And that's rough. That's hard.
Yep.
But my goodness, I think it's very good what's happening.
Oh, on the whole, yes. Even though we're losing, Louis C.K.
Well, yeah. I think, and that's, yeah.
That's the one that makes me really sad.
That one's hard.
Like, that's the one where I'm just like, man.
And Al Franken was a great ally to the left and one of the smart voices out there.
I know.
However, but those guys, and House of Cards is gone now. Where's my House of Cards going? I was watching that, Mr. Spacey. I was in the middle of that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin, for that.
For being a big time creeper.
Gross ass creeper.
Yeah. He's the one that it's just like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Boy, the more that comes out about that one.
Oh, did you the Getty movie that's replacing him in a month? Did you hear about that?
No.
Spacey they'd already shot this movie. It was complete. And Spacey played it wasn't the biggest role. It was like he did 8 days of shooting.
Right.
And last month, or rather this month, it's set to open in December, next month.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And Ridley Scott is replacing him with Christopher Plummer from this month to next month.
Holy shit.
He's reshooting all of Spacey's stuff.
No way.
And slamming in Plummer.
That's amazing.
What's going to be amazing is when all of the accusations against Plummer come out.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of background check they did real quick.
Right?
Like, okay, dude, you got to tell us right now.
Yeah, exactly. If anything's going to come out, I will shoot you in the eye because I just can't.
Wow.
But
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, I knew you as a movie guy would need to hear that. Anyway, what we're getting at here, so society needs to acknowledge this. We need to look it right in the eye.
It's a reckoning.
It is a reckoning, and it's happening. And it's happening badly in some places and well in others.
Yeah.
Al Franken came out with an apology that was crap.
Yeah.
And then an apology that was actually solid.
Right.
That was good.
Right. And the victim in that case actually accepted the apology.
Right.
Which is an interesting turn. It leaves one sort of wondering how to deal with that.
And,
in a sense,
there's a
right?
range of things.
How outraged can I continue to be when, but anyway, that's a totally different discussion.
Well,
that's not where we want
things
to get
being
to.
settled between those two doesn't mean that we can then let him off the hook as a group of people. Like does he represent us now that we know that he was...
Where's his judgment? What is his judgment like?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there are other questions to ask about Al Franken. But nonetheless...
these are the lines that we need to learn how to draw as a society. We haven't drawn these lines before.
And what I would also want to bring up, though, in this whole thing, because we teased it as well, is sort of this, these accusations are all coming out against people who were in some sort of position, some sort of power position,
Indeed.
Whether they were well placed in the entertainment industry or in our political system.
Whatever reason, these are important people or powerful people.
Important, powerful people who felt a certain layer of protection, a certain level of protection, a certain amount of safety in their position, that people would not come and accuse them of these misdeeds.
Or that
that they may not even have recognized in some cases the degree to which these actions were wrong.
Right. It is.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, there is that thing of, a lot of these. Okay. And before we delve deep into any of this,
right,
we need to be clear that nothing that we say will ever be offered as an excuse for sexual predation.
Right.
Or like you and I, and this show officially,
we come out strongly. Firmly, absolutely,
yes,
against sexual predator behavior.
Right. Sexual harassment, sexual, any unwanted touch, any of that stuff.
Right. And we've been clear on that. We've always been clear on that.
Absolutely. But I want to make that clear because we're going to wade into some slightly murkier water.
And so if it sounds like even for just a second that we're making an excuse for somebody, we're not.
We're not.
And we're not looking to let them off the hook, nor are we trying to craft some weird defense of them. Such as when we were just talking about Al Franken.
Yeah.
And the apology and the woman accepting the apology.
Right. That does, it doesn't excuse anything.
That doesn't mean that we can look at him in the same light. We now know something. We now know that he showed serious, a serious lack of judgment and a lack of character.
Right.
On some level. And that's something that then the voters in Minnesota have to deal with.
Right. Well, and also the ethics committee of the Senate.
And the ethics committee
will
of
have
the
to
Senate.
deal with that.
Right.
And stuff. But there's also this sense of one of the things that we're doing is we're moving from one era to another. We're moving from an era of impunity that these men had to sort of do what they please. And so, there was this sense that there were lines that you could go walk up to and even cross a little bit, and nobody was calling anybody on it.
Right.
Again, not an okay thing to do.
No.
Al Franken thought he was being really funny.
Yeah. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, he was a comedian.
Yeah.
He was not being funny.
No.
He was being disgusting.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I've been in the theater world for 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
And the old guys had a different way of, I mean, they would touch, first of all, the theater world is a very touchy world.
Sure.
Everybody touches people.
Right.
Everybody's open to people,
Sounds like you're making excuses.
You have to kiss people on stage. You know what I mean?
Oh,
We you have to be able to craft stuff. And also, it's a sexy world too.
Right.
And that's a dangerous thing because what we don't want to ever say is it's bad to have sex.
Right.
That anyone should feel ashamed of their sexuality or that anyone should feel like they're not allowed to have sex.
Right.
But by the same token, A, if you've got any position of power,
right,
it changes the dynamic entirely.
Right.
And B, it used to be that women would sort of, they didn't want conflict. They didn't want, especially, you think about a thing like a theater company where everybody's where you have to work so intimately with other people. You don't want it to be awkward or weird.
Right.
So a little bit of was put up with.
Right.
And it shouldn't have been, but that's just kind of how it was. Now that's stopping. That's not happening as much. It's still there. But it's not happening as much. And that's a great thing.
Right.
But what I'm getting at is that these men are coming out of coming out of generations where the rules were different.
They got away with it. And so they probably, again, didn't even fully realize how bad their behavior was. Right. Now, some of them had to have known. I'm pretty sure Bill Cosby.
Oh, Bill Cosby
had to understand where his lines were.
When you're drugging and then raping a person, that's a very different thing than Louis C.K.'s disgusting behavior of but he asked. He said, "Hey, can I masturbate in front of you?"
Right.
And these women over whom he had enough power that he really had no business saying this, said yes. And there were some other things.
The one that I heard, the two women who first kind of came out, if I'm remembering the details right, because there's been so many details lately.
Yeah, and we may be getting things wrong.
But nonetheless, my understanding was they initially kind of said, no, that's not really all that cool, whatever.
Okay.
And then he kind of proceeded to, and they just kind of hung out and didn't leave. And they weren't subordinates. This was earlier on in his career before he became a producer and
But he was still a power. He was still.
He was a famous man and a very respected comic
who could help their careers
and would have been in a position potentially to help their career. And so yeah, I mean, he was definitely was abusing power.
Yeah.
Right. And his position, so forth and so on. and
which he acknowledged.
Yeah. But this is the thing that I really wanted to get to, which is there seems to be this, because there are certain accounts here where it seems that partly what these men were getting off on was their ability to do the thing and to force the issue, even though the other people were sort of unwilling. And this is definitely Kevin Spacey's story. The accounts about the allegations against Kevin Spacey
Harvey Weinstein
Harvey Weinstein,
the same thing.
These guys knew how to really manipulate other people to kowtow to their power.
Right. I'm going to do this to you. I know you don't want it.
Right.
And I'm going to take it. And half of what I'm getting off on is the power struggle here, is the power dynamic. And you're not going to be able to do a goddamn thing about it.
It's rape. I mean, it's rape. Right.
I mean, the trick about that is that word usually implies that I'm touching you. So if I, pull out my penis and masturbate in front of you.
Right, but Kevin Spacey
against your will. Kevin, I'm talking about Weinstein at this point.
Right. Okay.
But it's no better.
Right.
Because it's still this horror. It still creates an emotional scarring. It's still an act of violence.
Right.
Even if they don't touch, there's an act of violence that's happening against this person.
Right.
So, one of the things that we need to do is that, and you and I in this discussion are probably getting things wrong. We're probably not all the way to where we need to be.
Right.
And that's, and people will probably write to us and call us out and say we're not woke enough. And that's okay too. Mm-hmm. Like we need to progress too in our thinking. Absolutely. And so I'm willing to admit that, like, I'll get things wrong on this, and I'm still learning, and I'm still trying.
Right.
But that's where we need to be, is willing to discuss, willing to own that this, and willing to lose people that we love, like Louis C.K., willing to let them take their punishment and not defend their actions, even if we feel like, hey, that's a member of my tribe.
Right.
That is not what is happening in Alabama with Roy Moore. And that is a problem. Like, Roy Moore, the more I look into this, the most recent thing that I saw was the governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, a woman, ladies and gentlemen.
A lady governor.
Okay, we need to lay off of that bit. We are feminists, I promise.
That's why it's funny.
Who recently said... she asserted that she has no reason to disbelieve any of Roy Moore's accusers.
Okay.
And she said she also has said there's never an excuse or rationale for sexual misconduct or sexual abuse.
Okay.
It bothers me, she says.
Okay. All right.
Then she said, I believe in the Republican Party, what we stand for, and most important, we need to have a Republican in the United States Senate to vote on things like Supreme Court justices, other appointments to the Senate, other appointments the Senate has to confirm and make major decisions. So that's what I plan to do. Vote for Republican nominee Roy Moore.
Wow. Boy, that party really stands for stuff, doesn't it?
Well, here's
that's stuff to believe in right there.
I'll tell you.
That's horrifying.
They have a strong claim on ideals.
Yeah.
She definitely has ideals.
Yeah.
There is nothing remotely close to morality in what she's saying.
Yeah. She's nothing.
Nothing. Because there's no morality in that. That is an absolutely immoral stance.
Yeah.
But
she doesn't care who the person is who's representing her.
She doesn't care if that person is...
She does not care that the person that she's going to vote for was a child predator.
Yeah. Multiple times over.
Right. Was banned from a shopping mall.
Was he? I didn't even read that part. Great.
Because he was too creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. 14 years old. I don't think damn it, I was about to say nobody can defend that, but guess who can? People
do,
because there was a whole group of religious people who defended him. And come on, Christians, get your story right.
They are losing any claim to morality, any moral standing, any moral high ground. They are losing everything. They're giving it all away.
They're throwing away their claim to morality.
Any legitimacy whatsoever on moral grounds is just being tossed away, and they're willingly doing it.
Right. They're openly doing it.
Openly, willingly. They're coming out and saying that that's what they're doing.
Yeah, you got Alabama State auditors Jim Ziegler, who he was the one that said that made the Mary and Joseph reference, where he was like, Mary was a teenager and Joseph was an adult, and that worked out fine.
Right.
That produced Jesus.
I honestly think that the question that something we talked about a few weeks ago of, is it, there was the poll of, can you be moral without God? I think the poll needs to be shifted. Can you be moral with God?
It's getting to that point.
Like at this point in the United States, I question their ability to be moral based on their belief in God, because it means nothing. Belief in God does not stand for anything at this point.
Well,
they have muddied and sullied the entire thing.
Well, now
they are done.
Of course, there were religious people who stood up against this line of thinking. And there are religious people who are coming in on the right side of things.
Sure. But these are not.
But oh my God, they're still voting for Roy Moore.
Yeah.
At very least, I am proud to say that I have not yet read, now that, oh my God, this is going to be famous last words. At least at this moment, I have not read any defenses of Al Franken. I've seen defenses. What I've not seen is Democrats rallying around him, saying he deserves to stay in, this, and downplaying what he did.
It's the downplaying that's going to be a problem for Democrats if they do it.
If they do it, then they're just as bad.
Right.
Anyone who does this, who downplays what he did. Now, what he did was a lot less, way nowhere in the same category as what Roy Moore did.
I think there's going to be a very interesting discussion that happens around Al Franken, and a lot of these sort of not as serious offenses. Right.
Still serious, but not as serious.
Not as serious. I was trying to be careful in how I said that.
Right.
Because there needs to be, some nuance here. There are shades here of this whole thing. There are degrees of offense, right?
Yeah.
They're just like we parse out murder
with any kinds of crimes, right?
We look at it, like the severity and the level of intent and all of this crap, right? Has to be figured out in determining how bad of a crime it was. And it is clear, at least with what's out in the open as of this recording, when there are two accusers of Al Franken. Right. There have been two cases now coming out versus the 9 or whatever. Those are different crimes. And we need to look at them very differently, and we need to accept that they're different.
Both crimes.
Both crimes.
We need to always remember that they are both crimes.
Right.
It's all criminal, and it's all bad.
So one probably means that somebody is absolutely 100% not fit for office at all and should never be allowed to stand. And the other one is the voters, after the ethics committee looks at the whole thing and considers the whole thing, leave it to the voters, and then they get to figure the damn thing out.
Well, and what they'll have to look at is
and the party apparatus.
Do I believe that he has actually repented of this? And, and in a non-religious sense, fuck you and your God.
Right.
Have you genuinely changed who you are?
Have you learned your lesson?
Does and
not just on political grounds?
And are more things going to come out? We don't know.
Right.
But yeah, we as a society are gonna have to wrestle with a lot of this stuff. But also we're gonna have to realize
owning it and accepting their culpability and saying that that it's wrong and that there's a problem. And then that's the other problem with Roy Moore, is that he keeps trudging on forward.
Oh, yeah.
9 accusers at last count that I know of.
That have been verified and vetted. And,
yes.
And like other, people surrounding them have been able to verify this. Like the Washington Post, when they published this about Moore, was careful.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
absolutely. They talked to dozens of witnesses who weren't, who were surrounding these girls and women. At the time,
right?
So it's credible.
Right.
It's clear that things happened,
right? And so whatever. It's a time where the people in power in this country had better really look at themselves and examine their predilections.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
look at what they've done.
Yeah,
and try to figure out how to, if they do, go forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
I mean, I think we all need to look at ourselves.
We all need to look at ourselves, but
this is a question of like, well, what do we want this society to be?
There are power structures in all of our lives, right? And there are people over whom we may have authority and whatnot. If you have any level of responsibility at your job, you probably have some subordinates, right? And thinking about how that plays out,
right? Yeah, and
I mean, you brought up this project that David Schwimmer had been working on.
Oh yeah, there's called
That's Harassment.
He did a series of videos that are really interesting. They're hard to watch.
Yeah,
because but what it is, they're all based on real life situations where it starts out sort of fine and then it gets really icky.
Right.
But this is how it happens.
Right.
It starts out fine and gets icky. And you know what? I've been icky in my life. I've been that guy. I don't, not to those levels, not to the levels of some of these guys, but it's tricky. And we all need to self-examine. We all need to make sure that we understand what we've done, how not to do things in the future. Mm-hmm. And it's important. It's a really important thing.
Right.
So I guess let's leave it at that, shall we?
Sure. Well, all right, guys. This is one I really hope we hear some real listener feedback on.
Some good voices other than our white male voices.
Yeah. This is... I'm trying to let this be a moment. If you step back from the media and the shouting and the horrible echo chamber that exists, and you just step back and look at this is a really serious moment that needs real contemplation by all of us.
And also, like, the yelling is a thing, but we also need to have a gentle discussion.
Yeah.
And we need to all just sort of ask ourselves questions and start to draw the lines that haven't been drawn before.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, again, please chime in. You can do so. You can email us.
Yeah.
The email address is podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Yep. You can phone us. You can leave a voicemail. The number for that is whatever you always say.
424-666-8442.
That's right. 424-666-TGIA.
Yeah.
Is what I like to say.
Yeah, there you go.
Also, you can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and there's a fun conversation that happens there.
And while on Facebook, please do look for the TGIA Members Only Lounge. It's a closed group, but that's what makes it and keeps it great. The conversations there are private, and they're also moderated.
Yep.
And that makes it a safe place, and the weasels get kicked out.
Indeed. Hey, speaking of Facebook, thanks so much to Mackenzie for doing that Facebook page. It's amazing that you're still willing to do that. But you're actually awesome at it, so thank you so much. And thanks to Sarah, Danny, and Amy for their work on the Members Only Lounge.
Indeed. And you know what, guys? It's intermittent, but there is our presence on YouTube, youtube.com/TGIAtheist. And you know what? Check out the How to Heretic, Dan's other podcast.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one. That thing.
Thanks. Yeah. And thank you for tuning in here. We always appreciate it when you do.
All right. Bye-bye.